Hello everyone and welcome to the Academy channel. I'm your detective host Igor, and today we are going to deep dive into Severance. Yesterday a new trailer was released and I spent a whole day analyzing it, finding some interesting clues for you, finding connections to previous season, and I'm happy to say I probably have a good video for you. This is not a recap. This is not one of those videos when I'm just going to be telling you what you have already seen in the trailer. If you are a fan of Severance, if you are invested in every little detail, this video is exactly for you. But before we begin, as usual, I want to thank everyone who supports me on Patreon. Your donations, your financial support and help is what make this channel possible. And I want to welcome a new member, Louis Padron, who became a champion. And also we have Andrea Elboscore, who was a motivator but upgraded her membership to a champion also. Thank you so much and welcome to our small but awesome community. And now let's dive in. Logically, we're gonna have to start where we have left off. Season 1 ended on a big cliffhanger, and we have seen that Helena was stopped from revealing all of the truth to the investors of Lumon. Now we can see already her Audi, Helena, is about to talk to Miss Selvig or Miss Cobel. Everybody has two names in this TV show. Look at this guy who's a bit on the heavy side with a big beard. We're probably gonna see him again in this video. Now the conversation between Miss Cobel and Helena is a bit confrontational. Miss Selvig tells her like, you are afraid of Ines, and she's like, no dude, I'm actually a daughter of the most powerful CEO of the history of the world. We're not afraid of anyone. I remind you, this place, this whole town is called Kier. And if you know, the inventor, the founder of the whole Lumon enterprise is Kier Egan. So they are really not afraid of anybody. They're probably more powerful than most of the countries and most of the governments. So they're not really afraid of the Ines. And to prove that, she's actually showing herself or Miss Selvig, or she's just watching it on some different episode, and I'm a bit wrong here. She's watching a video of Helena, and this is her manicure, her fingernails, her color, just a bit better here. So I was just to make sure this is the same woman who is watching this video. She's watching Helena kissing Mark S, and she's like watching from every possible angle. She's like, look from here, what an amazing movie. And she has this kind of a like small smirk in this moment. Now think about it. Her whole goal was to enter the severed floor to prove this can work, this concept of severed people can work. And if you think about the heroes that we know and familiar before Helena, Mark S, Irving, most of them are pretty much broken people, like the history also of the Lexington letter. People with a trauma, people with a bad experience are actually entering the severed process. And Helena is obviously not somebody who is broken. She is, you know, like very successful, she's beautiful, and so on and so on and so on. That's why Helena really wanted to escape this place as soon as she entered it. And now seeing her actually have some kind of a purpose there, even falling a little bit of in love in Mark S, is actually proves that this concept can work. Those people, no matter from what background they come, they can be severed. Or at least Helena is thinking like that in this moment. So we have also Mark S, and obviously he's followed of hearing that his wife can probably be alive. His sister is revealing him this truth. And after, you know, spending so many years trying to deal with this loss, getting a hope is not gonna be easy. You're probably gonna block it. You're not gonna be accepting something that can be a false hope, especially after so many years of grief. So there probably is gonna be at least one episode of Mark not willing to come back, not accepting, not believing of what he heard. And we know already that his sister is kind of suspicious of the whole Lumon concept. When she was giving birth, she encountered a senator's wife who didn't remember her on the next day after the birth of her baby. So it kind of made, you know, like sense that, you know, very rich and powerful people will use severance in order to avoid unpleasant experiences like giving birth. For most women, I assume it's a very unpleasant experience, or like surgery or anything else, like something that is gonna be not fun. You can pay Lumon and you can use your INI to suffer for you. I mean, sounds awesome for you, but pretty shitty for your ini. And she's already investigating it, and now she has even more clues that Lumon is kind of dirty, so she's probably gonna push Mark forward with that. We also have this image from Vanity Fair. This is obviously the same conversation. I just want to put it here also. Now we're gonna see Mark, you know, like doing his usual routine, going to some restaurants, like not understanding what his place in this world, but he's not going to be able to leave it alone. And if you remember, in the previous teasers we have seen somebody riding a bike, and we were kind of like trying to figure out who can it be, and now we have an answer. Actually, we can see that right next to Mark's house we see the same bike, and he's talking to Mr. Milchick, and Mr. Milchick is trying to convince him to come back. He's saying like, you're probably not really interested in coming back, especially after this experience of being switched off, when, you know, like in the normal area, not in the working place. But I promise you, Mark S is so freaking happy. Like, why would I believe you? And I think Mark S wouldn't believe him either in this situation. I don't think that Mr. Milchick convinces him to come back. I think it's the encounter with Miss Selvig. I mean, if you remember the end of season 1, both Mark and his sister realize right now that Miss Selvig is the boss of Mark S of the ini. So she is, you know, like a very suspicious kind of person. So he encounters her and he attacks her and he confronts her, and he's saying like, do you know anything about my wife, please? I would love to get some kind of an information if you know something. No, this is not to my credit, but I read something on Reddit, like somebody, like, I don't know if it's true or not, if the creators actually intended it, but Miss Selvig can be an anagram for G lives, like Gemma lives. I don't know, it sounded cute, I wanted to share it with you, but the credit is of course to the person who wrote it on Reddit. I'm not gonna be able to find the same article right now, but if you know, you know. And like, we're gonna see some flashbacks. Obviously he's gonna remember his wife, he's gonna understand that he's willing to do anything for a chance to save her, so he's gonna come back. And we've seen this moment in many teasers, you know, the camera is on Mark and he's leaving the elevator, like look at his face. This is right after he was switched off on season 1. For Mark S, didn't pass a day or 2 or a week, it has been just a second. A second ago he was at a party screaming that she's alive, and now he's waking up still terrified, still, you know, like pumped on adrenaline, and this is why his face looked like that. So when he's like starting to run, and he's actually finding this place with some new people and he doesn't understand who they are, he's probably been set up with the new team, and it's not gonna work out too much. Like this moment, you know, like all of them kind of standing up exactly like they were standing up in season 1. This girl is actually even dresses kind of similar to Irving's usual sweater vest or something like this. And here Mr. Milchick comes and he's like, Mark, it's been a minute, and like whatever, blah blah blah. Now here we have this image from Vanity Fair, like this girl, teenager girl, who has no place to be on the server floor. She's actually somebody who is a deputy manager, probably a second to Mr. Milchick. And we have this funny conversation. Still Ben Stiller, he is a comedian, so we have to put some jokes, and he's like, why are you a child? And she's like, it's because of the way I was born, of the date I was born, so it's my age, what do you want from me, dude? So this was just a bit funny. But you know, some of you suggested that she may be somehow connected to the Myrtle Egan School for Girls, you know, the school that Mrs. Selvig went to, but I'm not 100% convinced, because like all of those girls have those ponytails, or at least this is like an image of Mrs. Selvig when she was young and she's still putting those ponytails. Maybe it's connected, maybe not, but once again, thank you for making me notice, and I wanted to share it with everybody else. And we have another chase scene. Like, I don't think this is the same chase scene we have seen in the first time when he just ran and came to the place with the new people. Now we have seen the Mr. Milchick or Mr. Robot, like even when he's running, he barely has any facial expression, like only in this moment he's like a bit angry. And then Mark, he runs to old Miss Selvig office. This is obviously her office. This is the same like radio that she was using in order to talk to the board when she was hearing just static, like you remember in the beginning of season 1. He connects it to the same place where Mr. Milchick connected it in episode 1 season 1, and he tries to talk to the board, but obviously nobody answers, and Mr. Milchick stops it. So like, look at another interesting thing that kind of changed here. Mr. Milchick and everybody else on the administration level, they used to wear like this small tiny badge with Lumon on it. Now he's wearing a drop. And before that we have seen drop only like on mostly on the people who are from the outside, like Natalie, somebody on the reception, and I don't know if it's connected or not, on Mrs. Casey. So far I cannot connect like why some people are wearing the drop, some people are wearing the Lumon sign. Maybe it has some kind of a meaning, maybe not, but once again, if I notice, I share. So we have also a legend, like those people, the administration of Lumon, they decided not to, like switch off the lights on the experiment, send everybody home, restart their memories, or send them to the test level, like they did with Miss Casey in the end of season 1. They decided to invent a legend, like you guys, 4 guys were so freaking amazing, like everybody is celebrating you. Just look at the newspaper, look at, like they taking the car probably from, I don't know, Kennedy assassination. They used Photoshop to put all of our heroes here in the car. And I read the newspaper, obviously, there are 2 stories here, one about some kind of a bandit that robs houses. I don't know if it's gonna be relevant to our story, kind of reminded me, like the killer from The Office, the Scranton Strangler or something like this. And we have some story about recycling, which is very important to Kier Egan, and we have the Innies blow the whistle, obviously the main story. This is a fake newspaper, this is a newspaper to feed the story to our heroes, and it tells how they were welcomed, and their audience are so like grateful, and they're like so proud with them for speaking out about like not so amazing facilities of Lumon. And we actually like see once again how they're influencing them. They are talking about Ricon's book, the one that was really influential on Mark's philosophy, new philosophy that made him be more rebellious. And they're actually telling like Rickon wrote another book, How I Brought Myself to Kier. So they will like look at their example, at their god, somebody who's like, their leader of thought. And they'll be like, okay, he went to Kier, so we have to go to Kier too. Another interesting thing here in this article is that Lumon promises more wellness sessions, better wellness sessions, and even more sexual revolution there. Yeah, we kind of have seen already your scenes with the goat. I have no idea what you're doing with the goat, and I pretty much don't really want to know. But okay, I've seen this moment here, and this is Helly R. She's kissing somebody, probably Mark S. And this is already doesn't look as innocent as a kiss next in an elevator right before you're maybe about to die. This looks already pretty much hot and tense. So I don't know, like, would you consider this a cheating if your innie is actually like having sex with somebody else, even though it's not entirely you, but it's still your body? I think it's a very interesting moral complex issue, and it would be probably fun to discuss in the comments. So yeah, we have also like a cartoon that they made specifically for our heroes to enforce the legend, like this is what happened. This is a cartoon that's probably being shown everywhere in the world right now, and you're such an amazing heroes. We can see that Irving here, this is his once again sweater vest, and he's like getting angry. And if you remember this moment, awesome moment by the way, when he was like, let's burn this place to the ground. This was right after Bert's resignation, like when he came, like already left, completely left. And you can see that Irving is enjoying it. He became a character in a cartoon. Awesome. So whatever plan Lumon has in the beginning of the season, at least in the beginning of the season, it's gonna work. Also, another thing here is we're gonna see also Irving's retirement. I'm not 100% convinced, but we can see once again a creepy watermelon, and we have seen watermelons the last time Bert was retiring. So I don't know if it's connected or not, but once again, I notice I share. And we're gonna see some angry Mr. Milchick. Like here, he finds this note. I've talked about this already in the previous video, but it's kind of connected to the main theme of the trailer analysis. So he's getting angry, and here he's talking to some dude, and maybe this is the same dude that, was holding the door for Helena in the beginning of this video. And he's saying to Mr. Milchick, I'm not 100% convinced, but it kind of looks like his silhouette, that whatever you're doing, this is like the biggest moment of the history, blah blah blah, history, blah blah blah. And we can see that Mr. Milchick becomes some kind of like a character from the horror movie. He was always pretty creepy and terrifying, and now like look at this moment. You know what, even if you don't live in a horror movie, just your regular normal life, get inside an elevator and then let somebody stop the elevator with a hand like that, it's pretty terrifying. It's not a pleasant experience. So yeah, Mr. Milchick is gonna be way more tense. And we also can see that Helly R obviously gonna come back. And the first thing that she sees at least as we can, like assume from the trailer, is this pretty disturbing image of Keir Egan trying to punish or, maybe pardoning the 4 criminals. Maybe this is like a drawing that they made specifically for them. Once again, inventing some kind of a lore or legend to tell like your religion, our religion is basically explains why we forgave you, why you're such an amazing heroes, and you actually, like have this all redemption arc, blah blah blah. By the way, this image kind of reminded me this story I heard when I was a kid. Like, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that in history, like in previous times, when somebody, like when a thief was punished, he was put in the barrel of feces. Only his head was like popping off, and a soldier or somebody would like swing a sword towards his head every couple of minutes or every couple of seconds. So the robber would have to dive into the feces or, get killed. So sounds interesting punishment. Anyway, like we're moving forward, this is the moment, I think, once again, this is the first moment of Helly R after she's been attacked. Look at her fingers, look at her fist, they're clenched. This is once again right after the moment she was just attacked. This is like a normal reaction. Somebody like tackles you off from the stage, your fists are gonna be clenched. And yeah, so she's seeing this image and they have the conversation, they find each other and like, we're not in trouble, oh my god, we are legends, we're actually very good. And like Dylan here with his all alpha persona, he always wants to be, on top of everybody else. He's like, are we all equal heroes or there's somebody who is equal? And yeah, this moment, once again, the duality, the colors red and blue are used many times in this show. Probably in this room they're gonna be shown the same cartoon we already talked about. And this is the moment that Mark tells them about Miss Casey, that Miss Casey is actually his autist wife and he's gonna do everything in order to help her. Once again, the image from Vanity Fair, the red and blue here. The red and blue, as I told you, has been used many times. This is the party from the end of season 1 when they finish the refining of the numbers. And we can see that Miss Casey needs to be saved. Also, as I told you, she has this drop badge. Whatever is gonna happen to her, hopefully she's still alive. And they're using like the printers because Irving knows how to draw. They drawn her portrait and they're sharing her missing portrait everywhere. No, probably not gonna be very good for Mr. Milchick. This moment kind of felt like a little bit funny. It felt like Helly R is a little bit jealous. She's just checking out. She just learned that a guy that she likes here has a wife outside, and this wife is actually here on the inside. I wouldn't blame her to feel just a little bit jealous, and she's like, what you gonna do? And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna break her out of here. Now this moment is actually where I think, according once again to the silhouette, this is Miss Casey. She's looking at the door and this is the outside already. We can see like snowy trees, we can see the snow on the floor, so maybe she's actually gonna go out even in this season. And at this moment we can see them coming back to work. They're pretty excited, they're like happy, and I don't buy they just want to come back to work because they're excited about the numbers. They probably once again some kind of an ulterior motive and they just doing the work to present themselves like we are good employees, but they have some kind of a different plan. And if you remember, we still don't know what's happening with the numbers. Once again, in Lexington letter book, it's not really a book, it's just a couple of pages, but it's kind of suggested that all of those projects are somehow connected to real life events on the outside, to the bombing of some car, I don't remember, or it was a faculty or facility of some sort, but probably not every time they clean up all the numbers something blows up. Otherwise it would probably blow out every couple of weeks and people would start noticing that shit. But still, it's either completely nothing or it's a specific task that only people with this kind of a mind of a child inside of an adult, like all of our characters are pretty much children. If you remember, Miss Casey used to say that like I've been alive only for 107 days. So only those kind of people can solve those tasks. So whatever it is, I'm all for it and I'm waiting for season 2. Now we have the goals, and goals are pretty much important in this place. You remember this moment from season 1 when once again Helly R and Mark S, they entered the room and this guy was telling to them that the goats are not ready. Not ready for what? To be taken out, to be sacrificed on some kind of a weird ritual, or just to be food. But once again, why do you need to grow up your own food here in this place? You just can use the elevator and go to the supermarket. or I don't know. Once again, I think it's probably something really weird. So we have a new character played by Gwendolyn Christie, who is amazing. She's also wearing a green badge, and if you remember from season 1, O and D were wearing this, but this is obviously not O and D. She's all ready to farm some animals, and she's saying to them, you should have stayed out, you should not have come back, and she's using cowbell because she gotta have more cowbell. I gotta have more cowbell. Guess what? I have a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell. I'm sorry, I know my Christopher Walken is pretty bad, but still, I just cannot think of anything else when I see Gwendolyn Christie holding a cowbell in this show. Also, think about, the conversation between Haley R and her father when they were talking about the first chip, and it was colored green and blue, and we are seeing green and blue badges here all the time. I don't know if there is a connection, but once again, I notice I share. This is the moment, like, we are 100% sure that the people that working in this field with the goats, this is not O&D. This is a completely different team. If you remember them from first season, they looked completely differently. Now, if once again you remember this map that PT drew in the first season, we have this one here. Like, some people might live here. He found some houses and he thought that maybe some people are actually living there. So it's not really severed people, or they are like completely severed without even coming back to the outside world. And if you look at those freaks here, they kind of look like those people. They don't really treat themselves, they not really take care of themselves, they look pretty much like they came from, I don't know, Stone Age, and this dude is about to do some sacrifice for his Lord and Savior Satan. I don't know, by the way, why goats are always associated with Satan. I mean, they're pretty cute animals. Anyway, if you remember, we have seen goats already many times. We have this image of this freak, attacking the goat, who for some reason is dressed in human clothing. And if you remember, the waffle party became not so much a waffle party, but more of a 50 Shades of Waffle party. And with this dude also dressed up like a goat, and those three dressed just like characters from this portrait, and they kind of gave Dylan an option, a feeling to become like Keir Egan in his image. So something tells me Keir Egan was into some weird shit with the goats. Yeah. Anyway, this moment again made me think that there's some kind of a cult there. Like when he's talking to Haley R, he's like, I'm gonna be blah blah, and one day you will sit with me at my revolving. Who talks like that? What is revolving? You're gonna sit with me what, when I'm CEO, when I'm about to die? And it kind of sounded like I'm about to die. But for those freaks, you're about to die. This is you revolve or something like this. You become a revolver. So sounds like there's a cult. Sounds like they're creating a new religion. Sounds like they want to be gods. And this is why their dream is everybody having this chip, without any necessity to even switch off to their autis, to create a completely new humanity. I think this is what is their goal. And this new humanity is basically, almost brainless kids that work in the office and they're doing some stupid shit with numbers. Yes, so we're gonna have a reintegration. The same process that happened with Petey, but hopefully it's not gonna be as lethal for Mark as it was for Petey. But we can see here Regabi, she's working some kind of a machine, she's connecting Mark to necessary liquids here, and we can see here in the video two curvy lines. Probably one of them is innie personality and the other one is the outie personality, and in one moment they actually connect. And it feels like two pieces of the puzzle connect, and this is where we can see that Mark S is connected to this, homemade machine, and he's wearing a red shirt. And in those moments from the first ever teaser, it wasn't even a teaser, it was just a couple of images in the whole Apple TV, you're gonna see some TV shows. And we can see him switching from one personality to another very fast. This is him in the room where every innie's journey begins, and he's once again dressed in the suit and he's dressed in his red shirt. So once again, two personalities collided here, and now outie Mark and innie Mark are experiencing each other's life. And yeah, so Mark outie, probably we're gonna see it from his POV, through his eyes. He's gonna have the visions of everything that happened to Mark S. Look at his hair, he's obviously from outside. This is not how any Mark looks usually. And he has a vision of his wife, being Miss Casey, by the way. He has a vision of the break room, experiencing the terror and all of the torture, psychological torture that they went through here. So yeah. Another interesting thing here that I still don't know exactly what is the meaning of it is the testing room where Miss Casey was sent to in the end of season 1, and Irving keeps drawing this room over and over and over again. So it's gotta be pretty important, and Irving has to remember it. I don't know who that is. I don't know why it looks like Billy Bob Thornton for me, but he's not in the TV show, so it's probably not him. I don't think it's Bert also, I don't think it's Irving, I don't know who's that, like the hair is, I'm not really familiar with the hair, maybe I'm missing something, so I would love to hear your thoughts on it. And as I told you, this is what happened to Miss Casey, and also we have the Winter Soldier theme here, like we have some kind of like snowy landscape, and our 4 heroes are going to some place, they want to observe something. I don't know what is that, but here they look like, once again, I think I spoke about it in the previous video that I did for the Vanity Fair images, their hats, especially Mark's and Dylan's, this is like straight from the Soviet Union, just like Mark's watch, you know, with the symbol of the Russian Air Force and with the red star, and his wife used to be a professor of Russian literature. So I don't know if it's connected, but once again I noticed, I share. And if you remember, in the previous trailers we were kind of curious who is the man dressed in all white running in the snow, so now we have an answer. This is Mr. Milchick with 2 people, and they're probably chasing our heroes. They want to catch them. So something is gonna be with our artists. Like, look at this moment when Irving is leaving the car turns on, and it's not like he just, you know, like when you lock up the car there's like small fast blink there. No, somebody turned on the lights and they are about to follow Irving, and this moment is also probably him checking out who is actually following him. Mark is trying to escape somebody, so whatever life is gonna wait for our artists, it's not gonna be as safe and calm as it was in season 1, where the Innies were, you know, doing all of the shit, and the outies were pretty much, you know, like just, I'm gonna go to this moment, and I'm gonna go to this point of the story and get some more information, and always gonna be like a quest game for me. Now it's gonna become more and more dangerous. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I was able to show you something that you didn't notice. This is my goal here, to create an interesting and engaging videos. So if you liked it, you can support this channel and this video in any way that it feels comfortable for you. Like, subscribe, share, blah blah blah, comments, and so on so on. But if you don't feel like it, even the fact that you watched this video until this moment is the biggest support for me. I make those videos for you to see them. Everything else is just a bonus. And if you have watched until this moment, you probably enjoyed it, and you're probably waiting for season 2 just like I am. And before season 2, I'm gonna do a rewatch of all of the 9 episodes. I'm gonna try to find everything I didn't notice in my first views of this show, and I'm gonna share it with you just like I did with From, which was awesome and fun. And when From season 3 was out, I was ready and prepared, and so were you, for all of the information and all of the little details. And this is exactly what I want to do with Severance, because this is also an original show, it's not an adaptation, there is no book that will reveal us all the secrets like with Silo and the rest of the shows, and we can actually enjoy deducting and finding clues and building some theories, and nobody's gonna ruin it for us, which is awesome. So thank you so much, I'm gonna see you on the next one, bye!